Kobe's a guy I really looked up to. Just a driver, didn't care about your feelings.
Right.
Just like a Jordan. I'm here to win. I'm here to get better. I'm here to compete harder than you. I'm okay to be hard on other people. And his whole philosophy on just life in general was something I adopt in aspects of business.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, obviously, Jordan. Great story.
Yeah.
People maybe don't so much love his personality, but people who are winners, man, they're focused on winning. They don't care about anything else.
Dude, we all have the best time ever to start a small business.
If I'm not going to be 100% in, I'm not going to do it.
Come on, man, just be yourself.
Yeah,
and just show up as yourself.
If you don't realize what I'm really about, I'm about freedom, family, and my country.
Nick Aldiero, basketball.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for coming by the pit, dude.
Thank you for having me.
How did this all come about? Was it Chris Egger?
Huh?
How'd this all come about? What happened? How'd we get here?
Chris asked me to be a guest, but because Connor's in our Little Hoopers program. So yeah, I watched it a couple years ago actually. Seen a couple guests and.
How'd we do?
You did great. I applied. I got denied.
You did?
I did.
What they were doing for a while is we were trying to keep the revenues at a certain range.
Right. That's how I was like, damn, I don't make enough right now.
Well, because you know what happened? A bunch of people who just started a business last week were calling us.
Right.
And it was like, we want to give a little bit more bite to somebody who's the viewer who's watching, so you could speak from a position of experience. But now you got more experience. You got a great story. You're a true-blooded American. Mm-hmm. Left being a teacher, but we're going to get into all that. I'm going to go a little bit backwards into your story. Born and raised in Howell. Mm-hmm. Middle-class family.
Yep.
Loved basketball. When did basketball start for you?
I first started playing baseball when I was like 6, 7. But then I started actually pretty late most kids start. I started in 5th grade playing-wise. Played recreation, middle school, high school, Division III college, and like you said, became a teacher and a coach. So
you've been playing basketball all of your life, mostly?
Pretty much, yeah.
And as you were coming up, as a younger guy, was there things you thought that should have been done differently with coaches for you and your coaching and others? Did you always have a desire to want to turn back around? Because I see a lot of the wrestling guys, right? A lot of football guys turn around and they get back involved in their sport.
Right.
What was it that, said, hey, I'm going to go do this later on? Or was that something that just came about, which we'll get into?
I would say it just came about. I've been working with kids probably since I was a freshman in college, like summer camps. Mm-hmm. I realized I really enjoyed working with kids. And, I always did the team coaching thing from when I was a teacher. But I was more like passionate about the skill development side of it. And when I was growing up, I really didn't have anybody to help me individually get better. I had team coaches, obviously, but there's team coaches, and then there's like X's and O's, and then there's skill development coaches, which when I was growing up, it didn't exist. What I was doing, nobody did that. So I always wanted someone to help me specifically, like work on my individual game so I could reach my potential. And then once it became a thing, I was like, this is something I could do and that I'm passionate about.
So like dribbling, shooting.
Yeah. All the skill work, ball handling, footwork, finishing, passing. There's so many. Basketball is simple, but there's so many details in terms of skill development that most people don't know unless you try to dive deep into it and truly learn about it.
So how was your basketball career?
Not great. I was never a great player. I was able to play in college, but I was the worst player on a Division III team. Wasn't fast enough, wasn't tall enough, wasn't strong enough. But I always loved the game. I would say I was the hardest worker. And I was always a student of the game. So coaching was like a no-brainer for me because I always enjoyed working with children from when I was, younger. So yeah, was never an impressive player. I do think I can coach though, so that's my strong suit.
I saw just quickly your interaction with Connor when he first came in and squeezed my hand, and that's a natural thing that either you have with the younger kids or you don't. And you obviously have perfected that.
I wouldn't say natural. I mean, I've had 15 years of teaching experience. It comes natural now. But when you first start, obviously it's like a skill, like anything else. And now it's natural, but just starting out, I was terrible teaching.
Yeah.
Just when you do it every single day for 6 hours, you're going to get good at it. So
you graduate college, went to Brookdale, and then where else you were told me?
Montclair State.
Montclair State.
Yep.
Graduate, went right into being a phys ed teacher.
Right.
Was that the route you wanted to go? Did you want to do something else? You always knew you wanted to do teaching?
No, that's the route that's what I went to school for. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I thought I wanted to do for my career for the rest of my career. So yeah, I was right on time and right on the plan that I wanted to do. And then over time, I realized you're not rewarded for being good in teaching. You're rewarded for being older. Your time put in. And I never understood that, and I never really liked that.
That's why it doesn't work. It's failing.
Correct. And I've always told myself, like, I know I'm good at this, but like, well, if you're that good, then go do something else. So that's really what sparked the conversation in my head. And then for years I was, mulling it over. I don't come from, my parents aren't like risk takers. Where teachers by nature are not risk takers.
A lot of middle class weren't, yeah.
So I didn't have that naturally in me, but I knew I had a skill that not everybody had.
I gotta stop you though. What's so risky about, you were 2021 is when it happened. You're in your 30s. What's so risky about jumping out and chasing a passion that you have and seeing if you can make a living and pay your bills with it? What's really that risky about it?
Well, it's risky not to do it, but I didn't think like that as a teacher.
It's in our heads.
Right, correct.
It's like limiting beliefs, and your
Correct.
parents obviously were hard workers, great people, and I say this all the time. It's a limiting belief that the people around us pounded into our head, and we always want the safe route. But I say it all the time: teachers, cops, firemen, and I support them heavily, and we need them, and there's great ones at it. But it's like that pension, the benefits, the fixed pay, the summer off. All of that is like a cinder block and jumping in the ocean. It's not really a fun ride.
No, it's easy to get stuck in, and I was stuck in it for 14, 15 years, and there was a lot of things that I didn't like, but finally I got to the point where I learned I hired a business coach. Coaching and teaching at that point was never an issue because I was doing it because the reps that I had as a phys ed teacher, working with thousands of kids over the years, that was easy, but it was the business side. So once I was, like I told you before, once COVID hit, I hired a business coach.
Are you jumping ahead though? I'm going to get into that.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, go ahead.
What did you hate most about this, the teaching and the system?
There's a lot.
Give us some key points that you think are really ass backwards for kids and obviously, the teachers.
This is going to sound like not very nice, but if most people knew the people that were teaching your kids, you wouldn't like it very much. And the reason I say that is most teachers, they're not as good as they should be.
Well, now they just passed a law where you don't even need to know how to read or write.
And that makes it even worse. And because of the way it's set up, how we were talking just before, you're not rewarded for being good. So people start to get very unmotivated, and they just skate by.
Yeah. And you check out.
Right. And you're rewarded with financially for being older, and that's the first thing that I couldn't stand. Because and the thing is, in a school, everybody knows who's not good. Everybody knows who sucks, and everybody knows who's good. But there's nothing you can do about it. And it's like, that's just the way it is. And then there's like these tests that they make the kids take, and then that you have to do. It's called like an SGO, and there's just all this paperwork, and then you got to do lunch duty and recess duty and bus duty, and it's like, I just want to teach my class and leave me alone. But there's so many other compartments to it.
Yeah, they pull you in to try to save money. I remember my wife was getting hired in Mattawan years back. She's no longer a teacher because of COVID. And, they were like, okay, we really like you, because she's a special ed teacher and she has a master's in math.
Right.
So it was like a rare position they needed to fill, probably for funding reasons. And my wife is an excellent teacher. She loves the kids, patient. And they're like, okay, you didn't let us know about the cheering coach. And my wife cheered like kind of for fun. She also was in band. She did a bunch of random stuff in high school. She doesn't really know how to be a cheer coach.
Right.
And essentially they were like, you're not getting a job unless you take the cheer coaching job. And yeah, you see a lot of that go on. What's another big thing for you? Because I think it's a point that more teachers need to speak up and actually start telling the truth. Truth serum is what people need to hear, whether it be a nice thing or not.
Yeah. I'm
not here to be nice. I didn't start this podcast to be nice. I started this podcast to try to make a difference in people's lives and our children. I have a 5 and a 2-year-old that's coming up in this country. They won't go to public schools. They won't.
I don't blame you.
And I pay a lot of money in taxes, and I don't care. I'll still send to private because I don't trust the school system. It's all about their budgets. You have BAs and principals teaching, in multiple school districts, taking multiple pensions, and everything's based on their funding and their budgets, and it's not based on the kids. None of it.
No, it's not. And they wanted me to teach health and nutrition. And meanwhile, the whole pyramid guide was, it just found out that was all a lie. I don't know if you've seen about this, about like the grain, whatever. And then, but they're serving these kids just trash. So how can I say...
Yeah, you don't believe in it.
How can I say, hey, the chocolate milk that you're drinking with 30 grams of sugar, how can I tell them don't drink that all the time if that's what they're serving the kids? So everything is just...
Ass backwards.
It's just completely backwards.
How about teaching about, sexualization to young kids?
I mean, we didn't have that experience. I mean, I had to actually teach like puberty and stuff at some point. But I mean, in terms of like what I hear now, I haven't experienced that like when I was in the brick school district. But I mean, it's just insane to me.
Yeah.
If I had children, I wouldn't want them being exposed to that.
Yeah, especially in like 3rd grade, 4th grade.
No, it's ridiculous. It's insane.
Yeah. And it's a guy like you who cares for the kids like you do with your coaching. My wife and many other great teachers that I know have left the teaching game, really since 2020. That's a huge loss to a future of our country. And not to mention, I think all teachers, by the time you are in your 5th year, you should be easily making 6 figures because you got to live. Especially here in the tri-state area, it's expensive.
Right.
So anyway, you started to coach at Brick, and little by little, you started realizing that parents were taking to how you were helping their kids on the sideline, and you started to kind of say, all right, $20 or whatever your cost was to kind of do some other training. How did that go?
Well, I mean, I started volunteer coaching at my old high school, Howell. So I wasn't originally coaching at Brick, even though I was teaching at Brick. And then this was now in 2014. I was like, oh, I can help kids out in basketball. Like I have no idea what I was doing. I started off maybe 2 clients, going to their house, barely making any money, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I quit, regrettably. I quit like trying to get more people and build the business. But then in 2016, I started coaching girls basketball as a JV coach. 2018, I started an Instagram that started to get some traction. And
social media, baby.
Yeah, so I was like, oh wow, this is working again. So now like my passion for it reignited.
So wait, hold on, time out. So you were a guy that didn't know how to prospect new parents to sell them on coaching.
Correct.
You got a social media account started and it helped grow your business?
Yes.
Wow, I've been trying to tell people that for 5 years.
I mean, social media, like having a lot of followers versus with a local business doesn't necessarily mean, it looks good, but it doesn't necessarily mean.
You could have 3,000 followers and make a really good living locally.
But anyway, it kind of like made me realize like, oh wow, this is, I think I can really help people and I have something here. So anyway, I was just posting free content. And then in 2019, that's when I started doing more of group sessions, running it not the right way, completely, unorganized. And then COVID hit. I don't know if you want me to keep going on that.
Yeah.
Okay. So once COVID hit, I then hired my business coach that I was telling you about before, who taught me how to run a real sports business. But you couldn't rent the gym, and nobody wanted to be around each other. So all the kids were at home. So he encouraged me to start doing Zoom sessions, and that's what I started to do. I started doing group Zoom sessions. I had the screen full of kids because nobody was doing anything. And then
What a horrible time.
yeah, it was ridiculous thinking back at it. But and then people started to be okay with being around each other, but you had to be outside. So I couldn't rent a gym, but I started doing things outside at Lake River Park, by where you grew up.
Yeah. In the neighborhood or at the middle school?
No, in the neighborhood. I don't know if you know where the basketball court is, like right.
Oh yeah.
That court. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That court where there's literally the lake in the back. So that's where I started like my group sessions in person.
I did a lot of damage at that park.
Huh?
A lot of
You
damage.
dominated the park?
Dominated, fights, elbows to the face, football, basketball. They used to have a sports camp there for years. As a kid, I'd do sports camp
really?
there too, yeah.
Like on the grass right there,
Yeah.
where the court is?
That sports camp was the whole park. We did all different softball.
Oh, really?
They did it all.
Oh, that's
It was
awesome.
fun. It was a really good time.
Yeah, so that's where I started outside, and then eventually everything was opening up little by little, and I started renting gyms in different towns in the area. And then it started growing from there.
What was the most impactful thing that business coach did for you? Be specific.
That's a great question. So basically to have standards for the program and stick with them.
Give me an example.
Example is, there's only one way to sign up, and this is how it is, and these are the terms. And either you're in or you're out. And because like when you first start, you try to make everybody happy.
Yeah.
And like,
People pleaser.
I'll come to your house and I'll be in your driveway and you can just pay me whenever you want and however you want. And
Yeah, you don't want to be pushy. You want to get this going.
But once I hired, he just taught me, like one-on-one coaching is not the best way to scale. It's
hard.
It's you're gonna run yourself like ragged trying to do that. So in a group, specific terms that people have to agree to. There's one way to pay, give them the specific options, and upholding the standards for the program, how to get new clients, just doing things for free at first, but capturing their name, number, email, so you can reach out to them afterwards to
drip on them.
To sell what you're eventually going to sell and get them into your group.
Now you say sell, and I think this is a big holdup for a lot of people that aren't sales people, or they wouldn't consider themselves a salesman.
Right.
Get this out of your head as a small business owner. You are always selling. Always selling.
Right.
Always be closing. And if you want to keep your program top notch and you want to fund it properly and you want to have the nice gyms and you want to have the right hours, it all requires money, and you're always selling.
Correct.
So if you want to go and do soccer, basketball, football coaching, and I know there's a lot of guys on the internet doing all different types of things like that now, you got to sell. And you got to have a lead capture program and all of that.
And I was good at coaching, terrible at business. And that's why I was like, look, in order for me to do this, I have to.
What'd you pay that business coach? You don't mind me asking you.
The first time, $2,500.
And that was for what?
6 weeks of
6 weeks.
mentoring.
And then what'd you do after that with him?
Another $2,500. And then eventually he started, there was like a group you could join, paid that fee. So I kept investing, and he helped me.
How much money do you think you spent with him over the first year of really diving into that?
Probably $10,000.
And what do you think that has made you?
A lot more. It was the best investment, and I was terrified to, because I never spent that much money. Now I don't think anything of it, but like at the time,
That was a big investment for you.
Yeah, it was at the time it was a big investment, because like all I had was my teaching salary, and I didn't know if it was going to work out, but it was the best thing I ever did.
Did you ever see my T-shirts say stroke checks?
I have not. I haven't.
I'll get you one. And really the meaning of it was, invest in yourself, invest in your business, and if you stroke those checks, the money's coming behind that, because you're going to go chase your money. Hey, I
Right.
gave this guy $5,000. I better go learn something. I gave
Right.
him $5,000. Even if it's one thing, that one major thing could go take my business and
Yep.
pay me that $5,000 back and tenfold.
Right.
And we did a coaching thing with the Pit for many years here. When Fireside really started to gain some traction, we had awesome people come through it, some not so awesome people. And then I was doing some one-on-one coaching, which was $10,000
Nice.
for 3 months, and you get a call, and those people's lives were changed dramatically.
Right.
And they still. I was talking to a guy today. He actually called me back for finance planning, and he was pulled out his book of all of our conversations. He's like, dude, like, well, since when we first started to now, it's like night and day of what I
Right.
understand and how I operate, and on a personal level, and it's something people really need to do. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in coaching, and it's got me to where I am today. So if I can encourage anybody who watches this that's a fan of yours and they're doing their own little business, like, spend some money on yourself and your personal development.
Yeah, I agree. That opened my eyes to what real education is. I was like, why didn't I do this sooner? Like
You're in the system.
Right. I'm glad I started it, but I could have done this. Shit, I could have done this when I was 17. If I had learned. But at least I could have started this 15 years ago when I started teaching.
Maybe
But
you didn't have the same skills that
I
you did.
and that's what it is. I didn't have the same skills, but after like 5 years, I kind of did. Like I was good enough to.
But you weren't pissed off enough yet.
Correct.
You
I
weren't
wasn't
driven enough yet.
Correct. And I was just like, and then, like when going back to like when I said in 2018, I started the Instagram. I started seeing some traction. I was like, I went to my parents' house and I was like, I don't know if I want to be a teacher anymore. And they were like, well, you can't, because they're
Your benefits.
There
your
was
pension.
yes,
They're scared for you.
yeah, they're scared. They're scared for me, and like I was like, I don't want to be, like I started crying. So I was like, I don't want to be 50 and never have done anything else, because I know I have more. And I'm still kind of like a phys ed teacher, but I'm a phys ed teacher for basketball myself, right? So
But
it's
that's
kind of
your passion.
right? But it's under my. I'm doing my thing. Nobody's telling me what to do.
Yep.
I'm doing my thing, and that's what I really. As the years went on, I was just like so sick of like. On the walkie-talkies, all phys ed teachers.
Yeah.
Oh, can you please report to bus duty? Where are you at lunch duty? I'm
You're just
handing out
like,
kids straws. Like, what am I, like? There's nothing wrong with that. I just couldn't take it anymore because I was just like, I know I have the ability.
Sheep.
Yeah, I know I have the ability to do more. So after that conversation, that's what really like, all right, I have to change. Like I can't like, I got to do something. I know I can do something more. So.
The kids that you're doing, so you say like, group sessions, someone who may watch this that's a parent, we have a bunch of parents that watch their kids play sports, what do your programs look like? Are they all group focused? Do you do any
Yes.
one-on-one?
No, I don't do any one-on-ones. And when I I used to, and when I started saying no to that, my business got better. Mm-hmm. Because when I gave too many options, it didn't go well. It was too all over the place.
You got to keep it simple for people.
Correct.
They're
Keep
humans.
it simple, and gyms cost money.
Yeah.
Like renting a gym for a one-on-one is just you have to
make
charge
sense.
way more than they're willing to invest. Yeah. So everything is group. I have a 1st through 4th grade group that's just on Sundays.
Where do you do that at?
It's in Ocean. It's Ocean. And then I have a group, and I have a program called Committed Player Program for 5th through 9th graders. That's in, we do it in Howell, Manasquan, Belmar, Ocean also, sometimes Point Pleasant. So I rent different gyms in the area. That's like my main program. And then we have camps and clinics on days off from school. Like
you'll just spark one up like, hey, holidays coming, we're going to be at so-and-so gym.
Example, like I'm having on the 20th, there's kids are off from school for MLK Day. Mm-hmm. So that's already sold out, and now we have a President's Day coming up. So any time that there's...
Are you going to have Trump playing in the gym?
What?
Are you going to have Trump's inauguration playing
Yeah,
in the
we're
gym?
going to have that. I'm going to borrow your poster that's in your garage. So yeah, anytime there's no school, whether it's President's Day or MLK Day or summer camps, winter break, we had one. So that's sold out too. We have something.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Where do you want to take this program?
I want to take it...
And do you do any high school, by the way? Or college? Or is it mainly that 5th through...
So 5th through... the oldest I will go is 9th grade, because I have to have an age limit because I can't have like a kid in 12th grade, hanging out with a 5th grader. And that's usually the kids who are older, the writing is already on the wall. So if they're not planning on playing college basketball, it's like,
Yeah.
so I don't really focus on the older kids. I really focus on that 1st through 9th grade area.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
Yeah, you can really impact there because they're still learning, developing.
right. There's still time for them. What the older kids, it's either, if they don't play, like most kids don't want to play college basketball or they can't. So if because when you train your skills, you're not training for today, you're training for the future, right? What you do today is not going to impact you today. It's going to impact you maybe 2 years from now.
So that's interesting you say that. Most kids don't go play, college basketball. And I guess you could say that for most high school sports,
of
right?
course. Yeah.
But the NBA seemed to go a really weird route the last, 10 years.
What do you mean by that?
I used to really enjoy watching the NBA, and I'm a competitive guy, so I'd like to watch playoffs at least, and obviously the NBA championship series, and it just seemed to get away from that. And it was more about and the NFL has done it as well, but it seemed to be about just the showboating and the LeBron drama. And you think that's deterring young athletes from playing basketball and going to other sports like lacrosse and football and baseball?
I mean, I wouldn't say deter because if a kid loves it, they love it.
Yeah,
But yeah, I know what you're talking about. But when a kid loves a sport, I think they love it.
I don't even see basketball games advertised anymore. They're just you remember you used to and then have the whole commercial.
It's on
big game
like
coming up,
NBA
Pacers, Bulls.
on NBC and stuff like that. It's different now. It's different. It's on different channels. It's not the same as when when we were kids. But no, if a kid loves it, I think they're going to pursue it. And if they don't, they don't.
Yeah.
So
Kobe's a guy I really looked up to. Just a driver, didn't care about your feelings.
Right.
Just like a Jordan. I'm here to win. I'm here to get better. I'm here to compete harder than you. I'm okay to be hard on other people. And his whole philosophy on just life in general was something I adopt in aspects of business.
yeah,
There's a lot of obviously Jordan. Great
Right.
story.
yeah,
People maybe don't so much love his personality, but people who are winners, man, they're focused on
Right.
winning. They don't care about anything else.
right. And that's what I realized with not to bash teachers, but being around people who are teachers, they don't have the most I'm not going to say all, most of them, they don't have that drive to do more.
Yeah, they're looking for Friday. They're looking for Friday.
Correct.
And
They're looking
some
for Friday.
beers
They're
and-
looking for the NJEA, the bail them out of bullshit, and their pension. And I had my principal tell me not to leave teaching. I had my coworkers tell me not to leave teaching. I had my family tell me not to leave teaching. My principal told me multiple times because they were just I would get in trouble. Listen to this. I would when it was COVID and we came back to school, we were having half days. That's going to do anything. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic. And I would send out an email hey, we're doing a clinic at 1 p.m., right? To my email list because we got out at 12:30 and I was doing it outside. Do you know there were some parents that were on my email list that they would tell on me?
Of course.
And they tried to literally get me in trouble. So I would be in the principal's office getting reprimanded like I'm selling crack outside the school for doing
Listen, COVID scared the shit out of some people, man. It really did rewire their brains.
Yeah.
And some of them are, if I say 5% of the country's gone forever, but they just they were in this psychosis, they call it. They were fully in fear, and a lot of times they were leaning one type of the party, and you had a lot of those people that were telling on people for having their family in the backyard. I remember around the summertime when COVID happened, it was I'll have 50 people in my backyard. What do you think? What is the local police even going to do?
it was
wild times. And you know what the teachers have to do, and the principals have to do, and the superintendents have to do? They have to listen to those parents because they're afraid of lawsuits.
Yeah. Yep.
They have no backbone, and it's sad because they have no backing. It's not necessarily their fault.
No, it's not. But these kids would do. I personally didn't have a huge problem with kids in discipline because the kids were more well behaved for me. But the kids would do whatever they want, and there was no consequence. They didn't do anything to the kid.
Yeah, I won't go into a whole school bashing thing, but I told you earlier, some of the things my wife dealt with, and it was the parents are all of a sudden talking, to the school about her, who was an excellent teacher and had a master's and special ed, and it was a weird time. The education system needs to, I think, fully go away. I don't even think you can revamp it. It's too entrenched.
I don't think you can either. It's just
redirect that money somewhere else to help the youth of this country.
Yeah, I think homeschooling is just going to really explode, and like maybe and even private teachers coming to just to people's houses. And I know it happens now, but I think it'll be bigger. Because I just don't agree with a lot of stuff. But
yeah, I understand that. Well, you're impacting kids in other ways, and I think coaches. I was talking to my brother-in-law about this, and a couple other guys I did some coaching for that do wrestling and other stuff. You may not want to run as hard as I do in business and go, rub elbows in the right rooms to impact things at a macroeconomic level, or run with business. But you need that guy. You need Trump to get up there and be like, the leader that's taking on these tough leaders like Putin and Xi Jinping and Hamas and Israel and all those things that you see Trump do. But you also need the guy who's coaching in every single community, in basketball, football. Like, how many people go back and, they're going up there, they're getting their Hall of Fame trophy and their jacket, and they have their high school coach give it to them because that person made such an impact on their life at a time when it was really needed. So I think I would like to encourage more people, and I know it's a commitment, it's hard, I don't know if it's for me, but like I said, there's a lot of guys out there. My brother-in-law, Chris Berg, he's got 4 kids, and he coaches the lacrosse, coaches their football, he's got them to all these different training events, they're traveling with the lacrosse. He's making an impact not only on his kids but other kids in that community, and that's needed in this country.
Is that his business, or he just volunteer?
No, he just volunteers, man.
That's great.
Yeah, and more people need to step up. A lot of the football programs were starting to kind of fall apart because they didn't have anybody who wanted to coach. And a lot of times you have parents and you have drama and you have other things that come into play, but you need, again, real leaders, men or women, to step up and say, these are the standards, this is how it's going to operate, this is the discipline that your kid's going to get. He's not just getting playing time if he's not good. And these are all little lessons we all could take away in life later. And we're getting snowed on, it's getting cold. How does people find you? What's your Instagram?
My Instagram is coach_Aldiero, Aldiero. Facebook, just my name, Nick Aldiero. I'm on YouTube, Coach Aldiero. TikTok, Coach Aldiero. So I'm all over.
It's awesome. If you can give any, one suggestion that you want to give to a young guy or girl that's looking to do any business, not just coaching, what would that one thing be you would tell them?
Just in business, who started a business, would be to hire a mentor.
Yeah.
To fast track. Everything's faster when you have somebody to coach you. It's night and day to
shortens your learning curve.
Oh, it's just dramatically. I wish I started sooner. I'm glad I started, but I do wish I started way before. If I knew what I knew now, I would have started sooner, just like everybody.
Of course.
But I think that's just hire somebody who knows more than you, who's more ahead of you, that can
They're doing something and living a life that you desire to live.
Right. And I didn't think like that until later on. But yeah, that would be the number one thing.
I can tell you're impacting kids. I know you love this country. You didn't allow them to push you around in COVID. We didn't have to go too deep in that.
True.
But I know Chris and his family and Connor and them love you, and I wish you the most success.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on, man. Cheers.
Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely.